We ready? Yes, sir. Okay. Where's Councilman? All right. Okay, we're going to begin our press event, and we want to thank the media and our team for being here today on our beautiful beach near the Packery Channel. My name is Peter Zanoni. I'm the city manager for the city of Corpus Christi. And I asked for this meeting today, this press event, so the community would recognize that this is an important issue for us, the city. I'm here today with Councilman Suckley, who represents the district. He and we, myself, and our team knows that any disruption on our beach, any talk of closure, is detrimental to the community. We know that. We are very sensitive to that. We know that just this past Saturday there was a beautiful event here, the Mardi Gras festival. What do we call it? The
Barefoot Mardi Gras?
Barefoot Mardi Gras. And I didn't personally make it, but seeing the video and the aerial photography and video shows how much this community loves this beach. Not just people that live on Packery and the island, but the whole community. So the message today is we're aware of the sensitivity of any type of beach closure. Even during the most extreme hurricanes, we keep pedestrian access available. While sometimes we, working with the GLO, prohibit vehicular traffic, never in the 4 years I've been here have we eliminated access to the beach. Pedestrians still have access. So today we're here to talk to you about what is to my left in the waters, and we all know that a barge has been stranded there for many months, and today we're going to talk to you about the removal of the barge ahead of spring break. So this week, salvage contractor Resolve Marine will begin the removal of the barge that has been sunken here at Packery Channel. I'll talk to you a little bit about the Packery Channel and the reason why the barge is here. That barge was carrying rock as part of the restoration efforts for Packery Channel, and that's what happened. That's why it got stranded there. It's important to point out, Councilman pointed this out to me, and we want to make sure the community is aware that no city tax dollars are involved in the removal of the barge. This is 100% paid for by the construction company and their subs who own the barge and who's under their barge driving, if you will, had it stranded. So no tax dollars are used for the removal of the barge. This goes back to September of 2022. Late September, there were strong currents and high winds associated with Hurricane Ian, and the winds let this barge dislodge from its anchor, and it ended up kind of hitting the Packery Channel. It was full of rocks. Once its anchor was severed due to the winds and the strong currents, the barge became stranded, pretty much where it's at today. When it hit the Packery Channel, the thought is that it's caused a puncture in the barge itself, which caused the front end to sink, and then the rocks began to tumble down as well. And so it's been in that state for many months now, 4 months in total, which to the city is unacceptable. We know that Callan, who's a very distinguished contractor from Houston, has great experience. They've been working with the subcontractor who owns the barge, and they've been working with the GLO, with the Coast Guard, and with insurance companies to get the barge removed. But ultimately, in the end, we had enough, and we said, you know what, it's time to get the barge out. Spring break's coming up. We do have recourse in our contract that we have with Callan, and so we use that, even though we don't like to. But basically we issued them a notice of non-compliance, that they were in breach of their contract. The contract requires that the site be left clean. And when you have a stranded barge for 4 months, it's not a clean site. So I'm talking about it professionally here. We know that Callan's a good company. We know they tried hard. But we know that the city, enough is enough. And so we said, let's get this barge out. That cure letter helped to put this into a faster pace. And so today we're here to talk to you about a 15-day removal period that began over the weekend. So over this weekend, divers actually went into the area where the barge is and surveyed the bottom of the the area, looked at the barge condition itself, looked to see were there any loose metal materials around. From that information, from that dive information, they will begin activities this week. In fact, they've already begun today. So this week is kind of the prep week where they'll be preparing, they'll be putting some pretty significant anchors into the sand. The goal, or the plan is to pull the barge up here to the beach. There were numerous attempts before to lift the barge and take it out through the waters. Several attempts with cranes, and none of those really panned out. So the plan that they're working on, that we've allowed them to work on, and both at the GLO and the U.S. Coast Guard has approved, is dragging the barge from the ocean up here to kind of where we're at, and then they'll cut the barge up and take it out on trucks. So over the weekend, the dive team went in. This week, they're going to begin to mobilize the extraction materials that are needed, things like a big anchor, pulleys, chains, and tension. City staff is working closely with the contractor to make sure the area is safe. Part of that safety plan includes putting a barrier across pretty much where we're at, across the beach, going from the dunes to the ocean. So unfortunately, people won't be able to walk from this point forward, to include the south jetty, and that's for the safety of our residents and visitors, and the safety of the contractors that are doing the work. That barge is very heavy, and the tension that will be put on chains and pulley systems to pull it out is going to be very strong. If a chain snaps, the last thing we want is somebody getting hurt from something like that. So next week, the barge will begin to be pulled out of the water. They'll get it on the beach here, and they'll cut it up and take it off in trucks through some of the beach access roads. Brett Van Hazel, our Assistant Director for Engineering that's overseeing the Packery Channel Restoration Project, is here with me, and he'll say a few words about some of the specifics that I'm talking to you about this morning. Now, Councilman Suckley and I talked over the weekend. We know there were rocks on the barge, and we know that a lot of them have fallen into the water. Those will be removed as well, but that's step 2, and the plan for that will be developed after step 1, the extraction of the barge is done. So we don't have the detailed plan yet, but we are fully aware there's a lot of rocks at the bottom of the ocean. We also know they're going to be removed. It's a mandate that they be removed. They're not going to be left there. They will not be left there. The teams of Callan and their private subcontractors don't have the plan yet. Their goal is their strategy is to get the barge removed, then go back in and survey what's there. Where are the rocks? How can we get them out? So that's going to be step 2. We'll announce to the community what that plan is once we know. So that's a big highlight, big high-level summary. Dive team went in this weekend, surveyed the site. This week we get ready to extract the barge, or the contractors do. Next week the barge comes out, is chopped up and driven away and gone. Let me just spend a few minutes. Somebody messaged us this over the weekend saying, you know, we appreciate you all taking the barge out, but don't forget to talk about the Packery Channel, because that's why this all happened. And so let me just give the community a quick update on the Packery Channel. We know that the Packery Channel, right over here, is an asset to this city. It wasn't always there. It was built several years ago, but it's well loved by the community and visitors alike. The Packery Channel is being restored. We know that the embankment, or the revetment that they call it, was impacted significantly due to Hurricane Harvey. To some extent, the materials that were used back then by the federal government weren't the best. And so there were revetment failures that were resulted due to Hurricane Harvey. After many years of working with the federal government to get federal monies to restore it, not local monies necessarily, the Packery Channel is under construction, redoing it. And the money's coming from FEMA, as well as a small participation from the city, a 10% match. But the FEMA funding, Federal Emergency Management Association, is helping to pay for the restoration. So the project repairs include revetment, brand new revetment, shoreline protection, new sidewalks, new bollards, storm drains, handrails, and other structures that were impacted by the hurricane. So Callan Marine is the one that's doing that. They're bringing in riprap to fix that revetment that was impacted by the hurricane. Right now they're on the northern side, moving west towards the boat ramp. And once they get down to the boat ramp on the north side, then they'll come back on the south side and move from the east to the west on all that revetment work. So they're about 70% complete today, 68-70% complete today. Almost 2/3 of the work is done then. The project should be done in the next 2 to 3 months. So by the peak of summer, we'll have a brand new Packery Channel with beautiful revetments, nice sidewalks, bollards, and other features that aren't there today. Okay, so those are my comments. Again, as a city manager, I wanted to come down here to be with the community and be on site to get a sense of the magnitude of this effort. I'm glad we made it down today. I'm glad we're here on the island. I'm glad Councilman Suckley has joined us as well. I'm going to see if Councilman Suckley wants to say a few words, and then we're going to have Brett Van Hazel talk a little bit more about the project details. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Just real quick, reiterating everything Peter already said, is the community is excited to have this finally taken care of. As we know, some of the bigger times during our year for visitors and others enjoying our natural resource are spring break and the summer months, and so to have this complete over the next 15 days will be great for our community. I know folks are excited about it so they can maximize their enjoyment of the beach. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Councilman. And by the way, he said I wasn't dressed appropriately for this event, but I did bring my sunglasses, Councilman. So
there you go.
Yeah. Okay, Brett Van Hazel, our Assistant Director of our Engineering Department, is going to give us a little more detail on the specifics of the extraction project. Yes, sir.
Good morning. So as Peter already stated, the contractor was able to mobilize out here this weekend, Resolve Marine. So what they're working on right now is surveying the site. They're welding connection points onto the barge and getting equipment such as the one you see behind me, along with chains and other items in. And the plan is this week to start getting everything set up to include, like Peter said, we're going to be blocking off parts of the beach for the safety of the public, but also to give the contractor the space they need to perform the work. So what you'll see this week is a setup rolling into next week where we'll start actually connecting the chains to the barge, and the contractor will start pulling the barge on shore slowly, making sure that it's not falling apart as they're bringing it on shore. And then once they get it on shore, they'll have contractors coming on, another subcontractor coming on board to start dismantling the barge and hauling it away. Once they finish the dismantling, we'll start opening the beach back up. But before we do so, we'll be making sure that we don't leave any shrapnel, both in the water as well as on the beach. And then, as Peter mentioned, following that, they're going to be going out with a different survey crew to start looking at the rock to make sure that it's all surveyed. We know where it is. We make sure that anything we remove won't cause more damage or detriment to the jetties. And if there is anything, we'll come up with a solution. But the plan is to remove all the rock. One thing I didn't mention, what we're going to try to do to accommodate the public is once we actually get the barge on the shoreline, we do plan on adjusting the fence so that people will be able to access the jetty. So once the beach area and the jetty are safe to get access to, we're gonna move the fence back so people can go back to enjoying those amenities out here. So the plan right now is March 6th to have everything completed and everyone removed and the beach open back up. And then at a future date, we'll come back and start working on the rock removal. So that's it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then just to repeat one more time, so the jetty, the south jetty, which is a walkway that has guardrails or handrails and a gate, that is closed. It was closed yesterday or Saturday?
Right. Yes, sir.
Yesterday it was closed. And the reason being is the contractor's using it as a staging area. So things like chains, welding material, a lot of supplies that are needed to get the barge out of the water are being placed there. It's for that reason, it's somewhat of a storage staging area. It's closed, but also for, again, safety. And so we don't want anybody hurt that may trip over or somehow get hurt by all the materials that are placed there by the contractor. So through this week it'll be closed. Just the south side, the north side of the jetty is still open. But the south side will be closed for staging area, and then primarily though for safety of our visiting public, our residents, and the contractors. And then next week, as Brett said, once the barge is pulled out of the water, we'll keep the jetty closed then too, especially because that's when the cables are going to be pulling it. We don't want anything snapping and hitting somebody. But once the barge is up here on the sand, then we can open that south jetty back up. So probably mid next week, we'll keep the community informed. We know that any closure is not really well liked. In fact, we already saw some communication from the island about the jetties closed, but it's just the south side one. The north one is still open, and the closed duration is through this week and probably through about mid next week, and then we'll keep the community informed. As Brett said, the beach will be closed. You can see the staging area behind me, but there'll be a orange fence from the dunes to the ocean to protect the work zone. But once the barge is up mid next week, we'll shrink that closure period or closure area so people can walk by and then ultimately get back onto the jetty walkway. Great, so that concludes our briefing this morning. We want to close by just saying that we at City Hall, both myself and our mayor and city council, one of our business and government platforms is being open and transparent and inclusive. Being here today on the beach is part of that mission, which is to communicate effectively with our residents, visitors, our neighborhoods, to make sure that we're in touch with them, in tune with them, that we're accessible by them, and that we give you great information. So we're giving you exactly what we know today, live right here. We appreciate people being here, especially appreciate the media being here to help explain to the community this 15-day period where we'll get this barge once and for all taken out of the waters and removed in time for spring break. So with that, we can take any questions if there's any questions, or we can do interviews outside this briefing as well. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here.